Hey everyone, this is Candace. Welcome back to day 44 of my 100-day health challenge. I am 6 days away from day 50. So it has been a whirlwind. I feel like it's been a constant up and down, which I guess is just life sometimes, the journey of it. My camera's back up and running and I'm continually it was a storage issue. I had this app on my phone that was storing some photos and things and was just taking a ton of space. And so I deleted that and was able to clear out a bunch of space. So I should be fine now, hopefully, and things are back up and running. It has been a whirlwind of a journey so far. I am almost at the halfway mark and just kind of looking back and looking at where I've come and the accomplishments I've already made, but also some of the frustrations of like where I was hoping to be and where I'm not quite yet. And I know it's not day 50 yet, but I'm not quite to that goal that I was hoping for yet. I know there's still time, right? And I am doing what I'm trying to do consistently, mainly for health changes, but there is a little bit of that frustration sometimes of that, like I was hoping to be here and I'm not quite there yet. But then I have to look back and say, wow, over the past, 44 days, I have still lost 20 pounds and over, and it's fluctuated some, but it's basically sat at that number, which is an amazing number because I haven't lost that in a long time. And so I think it's just keeping the positivity and trying to choose the right mindset even when it's been frustrating and hard. I did do tracking last week. I think I could have still done better on tracking things just because it got so busy and crazy and hectic. And I think that's one of my biggest problems is I'm trying really hard to establish habits so that I have a firm foundation going into times of busyness, hecticness, and illness, because I still deal with a lot of immune issues and I still deal with a lot of issues that are resultant of the health situation that I'm in. And also there's just times where, especially as a teacher, I think you can get it anywhere, but when you work with kids especially, you're very much exposed to additional things. We have stuff go through all the time. I love being a teacher, and but I think even when you work in daycare, childcare, if you work at, your church or your group, or if you work at work in childcare, whatever it is, just as a parent too, whatever goes around in your family, you're probably going to get. And so I think it's interesting that working with kids, even though I work with teenagers mainly, you still are going to catch all kinds of things like strep throat and flu and stomach flu and, or be exposed to them and potentially catch them. And, pink eye and ear infections. And ear infections are really more of a side effect of certain things, but still, all these different things you're exposed to. And for me, where I still struggle some with immune system issues, and I'm working on that. Sometimes so I think what I'm trying to do is establish healthy habits just so that I'm already in this mode when I end up having those issues of life, those unexpected challenges and obstacles, and I'm prepared for them. And I did do a lot of analysis this last week of how things went. I think it's important to write things down because it's easy to say in my head, for example, and I think a lot of us are the same way. You're probably the same way to an extent. Everybody's different, but most people think that they know what's actually going on in their day-to-day routine. But the reality is that it's very easy to think in our brains, oh yeah, I'll remember at the end of the day that I ate this, this, and this, and this, and I did this, and this, and this, and this, and then I'll remember not to do it tomorrow, and then I'll accumulate that knowledge and I'll write it down at the end of the week. And we keep kind of putting it off, like, I'll write it down tomorrow, or oh, it's okay, it's only 2 days, I'll write that down on Wednesday, or oh no, it's okay, I didn't write it down this week, but I'll get it on the weekend and I'll remember all 7 days. And the reality is we do not realize. And then there's all these little small moments, like for example, I'm not a huge candy fan, so I don't have as much struggle with the Halloween candy or anything. But a good example would be all the people who brought in, I even took some today too. I took extra candy from last night's Halloween for all the trick-or-treaters that came by. I took the extra candy and gave some to my class as just a, kind of like a happy fall and, a post-Halloween thing. And but then all the rest of it, some of it I saved for games and prizes because we play games sometimes, review games and that kind of thing. But also then I took some and put it in the teacher's lounge. Well, mine was not the first bag of candy that was in the teacher's lounge. Basically, everybody who had candy to offload that was left over from Halloween brought into the teacher's lounge. Now, for me personally, I don't have an issue with that as much. There may be days where I kind of look at it and I'm like, oh, that kind of looks, but I'm pretty good about avoiding that. I have more trouble with like the baked goods, the homemade goods that look really, really delicious. And so, anyways, for example, it would be easy to just walk in there during a break and grab a piece of candy and not write it down because you just thought, I'll remember this later and I'll write it down later. Well, then it'd be easy to come down during another break and grab another piece of candy. And another break that day, just come down and grab another piece. And it seems like you're only grabbing one little piece of candy. But then if you think about how many how many breaks you might take during a day, how many times you might walk into the teacher's lounge, or maybe it's like a cafeteria or the coffee room at work or whatever it may be. Maybe you're just walking by a desk that has candy and you're just, every time you walk by, you just think, oh, I'll just grab a little one. And you think, because they're just these teeny tiny little candies, it's not gonna be a big deal. But if we actually look at the nutrition facts, it kind of cracks me up, but that we even call it nutrition, because there's really no nutritional content to most of these things. But if you actually think about how many times you walk by one of those desks and you grab a piece of candy. So one of the things about tracking that's nice is instead of maybe having 5 or 6 breaks where you literally go by and you like walk and grab candy as you go by, it could be that this way what's going to help you is, one, having to write it down will be a deterrent to eating it, because you're gonna be like, I don't want to have to take out my notebook and write down that I had one piece of candy every time I pass this desk. So one, it's helpful because maybe then you will no longer pick up that candy because it's actually an inconvenience. 2, though, if you do think you know what you're eating, and then you come to the end of the day and you record and you realize, I ate 6 pieces of small candy, and like the actual amount of calories and carbs and things and sugar that's in those things, if you add it up, and it's just like, man, I just had like 2 meals worth of calories and carbs, and let alone the sugar. And so I think tracking can do multiple things. It can motivate, because you're actually having to hold yourself accountable, so it can actually inspire you to make different choices, whether it's just because you don't want to have to get out your notebook to write, or it's because you actually think, well, I don't really want to have this on a written record that I made these choices, or maybe it's just like, oh wow, I need to pause and actually think about what I'm doing, not just walk by and grab something and go, because that's what we often do. We don't mean to, but we kind of check out as we're walking and doing something and just say, hey, okay, I'm gonna grab this, and then we go. And it's so easy to do that because little things like that are available everywhere. Even in a grocery store, like walking by and they have little baked goods samples or something, and it's easy to just go grab one and then keep going and then grab another one at somewhere else, and you have multiple samples sometimes at places. And so tracking can do that, but tracking can also then help you realize how much you really are eating, or that what you're not doing or doing that you didn't even realize. Because sometimes our brains they don't think that's important, so they won't track it. And when you think about how busy your day is, especially, if you're your own life, but if you have kids, if you have dogs or cats or whatever, if you have people you interact with, people you take care of, the overload of information, it's literally going to be like, you may be stunned sometimes, like totally surprised and shocked at the end of the day of what you actually did or didn't do when you write it down. And I did that too. I realized that writing it down or having a mental record of it that's written, because our minds are so full of information, it's just going to go out in an instant. And so actually having to write it down, what I was and wasn't doing, it was that accountability factor, and also just kind of a wake-up call of like, oh, I thought I was even doing better than this, but I'm actually not. Or, oh, I thought I was doing worse than this, but I'm actually doing better. And then it helps you refocus on what are the actual areas of trouble, like which areas have been fixed a little bit, which areas are improving, and which areas are needing improvement, or maybe they're declining. Like what areas in my life do I need to focus on? Because we want to always be constantly shifting and changing and moving with the flow of what's going on in our life, and adjusting our goals accordingly. So if you've lost 30 pounds by changing your nutrition and you're having no issue with nutrition, but you hit a plateau, kind of like what I'm dealing with right now, and you realize, well, but I'm not increasing my movement accordingly, well, maybe then it's time to say, well, I've established a nutritional habit, so then now I need to match up my movement. Or maybe it's a vice versa. I was sleeping super well, and then now this is what happened when I was sick. I was sleeping really, really well beforehand, and then afterwards, it threw me off to where I was sometimes getting 2 or 3 hours of sleep, and I'm just now getting back to like 5 consistent straight hours of sleep. And so it's a good way to just track and say, what do I actually need to focus on, and how am I actually doing in these areas? And I know I've talked about a little bit of this, but I found it so useful this past week, and I actually am doing some again this week. It also helped me realize what consistent or inconsistent times I'm actually doing things and what are the reasonings behind those. So maybe I need to change some priorities. So for example, today, actually yesterday too, but today, I was having a little bit of weird thing going on with my car. Well, one, I was actually on time, and then I had a couple things that last minute, I kept forgetting things and having to do them before I left. So I was already running a little bit behind, but I would have been okay. Then I had a couple things with the car. And so I literally, as I'm going out, I'm thinking, I don't have time to eat. I don't have time to do this. Can I grab something? Okay, there's nothing to grab. I'll just eat something at the school. And okay, I need my supplements. So I take my supplements. Oh, I'm missing a couple. Well, I don't have time to grab them. I'm just gonna take what I have and then I'll take the rest of them later. Well, so then basically I'm already setting off on a bad foot because I'm awake, I'm hungry, I haven't eaten, I haven't taken my supplements. I'm saying I'll do it at the school, but what if there isn't food at the school? What if we're out of things? I'm taking my supplements, but obviously I'm not taking all of them. And if I can't find a replacement in my purse, or it's literally at home, and so who knows when I'm actually gonna get home, so now I'm off on my supplements. Well, so then I got to the school. I ended up going straight into drama rehearsal because where my car had been doing weird things, I was late. Not by much, but just a little bit, and it was okay because there was the other teacher there as well. And so, but I had to go and sit in and write and get right away to work. So then I didn't eat. So then I had to wait till after rehearsal. So we're now looking at, I've been up since like 5 something, and now I'm looking at, I'm not even done with drama till 8. And so now I'm looking at this 3-hour gap where, you know, when you need the energy and the nutrition so that your body doesn't think that there's something wrong, that's actually a big gap. And so then in addition to that, then I had to go and set up ticket sales and get one of my students set up to sell the tickets in the lobby as people were coming in the school. And then I had to go do some other stuff in the teacher's lounge. So then by that time, we're already looking at 8:15, 8:30. And so finally I look, and fortunately, I was very fortunate, there was leftover fruit and vegetables. And so I was able to get some fruit and vegetables for breakfast. But I did, the apple was so sour and kind of a little bit bitter and getting on the end of not being so great. I did get some caramel, right? Caramel to go with the apple. And so I didn't get much, but that was still something that I wouldn't have probably done if I'd eaten at home, or at least brought something with me. And not been in a hurry. So I'm already looking at, I'm eating anywhere from 3.5 to 4 hours behind when I'm actually up, which is not good for me, especially where I'm at right now in my health journey. But then I'm eating, fortunately, apple and veggies, but who knows, that might not have been there, and then I would have had to eat something, but it could have been something that would have skyrocketed my blood sugar. I mean, I still was eating the caramel, and then I ended up forgetting to take all of my supplements. I only took some of them, and I was missing the some. So I'm already behind on that. Well, then I got busy with all the stuff with working in the morning, and then I did have a good conversation with a friend, and it was fun. But then I had to go and teach class, and then when I got out of class, it's already 11 something by the time I was done teaching. And so then I had to go and get some food, and they were fortunately, again, pretty good, healthy leftovers. But again, I'm eating a weird early lunch because I'm still hungry from not my great breakfast. And I did choose the better options. Like I didn't choose any breads or heavy stuff. I didn't really choose any sugary stuff. But then again, I realized, well, I don't even have my lunch supplements, and I haven't even taken my breakfast supplements. I still forgot to do it. And then I'm still drinking my coffee because I hadn't taken the time in the morning to drink the coffee. So now I'm drinking coffee in the middle of the day, which can sometimes affect my sleep these days. I mean, I'm usually not hugely affected by caffeine, but in this case where my sleep's already been bad, I try to avoid drinking a lot during the middle of the day. So then I'm already sitting there. Then I come home and I was just exhausted, and I hadn't had all my supplements and things. I hadn't had all my normal stuff. So then I'm literally looking at, basically I'm trying to sit up and hang out with my parents, and my sister had brought my nephew over. And so I was hanging out with them, but I definitely ended up dozing off multiple times and not fully falling asleep, but taking more nap than I should have, and was distracted and didn't get as much work done. I did get work done later more, but then I'm eating an earlier dinner or an earlier snack because I didn't really have a good lunch or breakfast. And so then now I'm looking at that, and now I'm actually making up for supplements that I didn't fully take in the morning. And then in addition to that, then I still have to take some of the other supplements, but I'm gonna have to wait a little while to take it. So then I'm pushing my food to a time I don't like to eat it, because then that sometimes affects my sleep again, because my digestion's off, and it actually causes me to have a little bit of trouble sleeping. And so I'm in this whole mode of like all these different things going on. And so some things went really well, and then some things didn't go so well today. And then I realized, I wasn't doing much movement today because I was exhausted and busy and tired. And so I think And yesterday went much better, by the way. You know, despite the fact that it was Halloween and there was candy around stuff. Again, I'm not a huge candy person, at least not these kinds of candy. So, you know, it was okay overall. And yesterday was probably better in a lot of ways. I actually ate some breakfast and things. But again, I was taking my breakfast last minute and was running and rushing and not prioritizing my health in the morning. And, you know, part of that's my sleep's been off. So I've been getting up a little later and I've still been on time, but it's been this, and then I was having to print tickets yesterday. There were some technical difficulties and things. And so anyways, it's good to track because literally I could associate what was going on, like what was causing these things and what was it causing as a result of that. So, you know, I'm eating breakfast way later because of this, all this stuff in the morning, but then that's pushing my lunch earlier and it's pushing my dinner earlier. And then I'm still gonna probably have to have a snack to take supplements, which is not what I want to do. I'm getting all these extra things and I was fortunate there were some healthier options. But if there hadn't been, and then even with those, they weren't the best. I'm not doing as much movement because I have these things, I'm exhausted, and then napping in the middle of the day is affecting my sleep. And it literally is this spiral, right? So it was good to see. It was good to see what was going on, what was working, what wasn't working. And it was good for me to think, okay, here is what's going on. And I am not prioritizing. So in this case, I am not prioritizing my own ability to get up early, well, to go to bed early and not feel like I have to finish things late. To go to bed early, to get up earlier and not feel exhausted, and to actually take time to just sit and eat breakfast, have my quiet time and devotion, have my journaling time if I want it, have my getting ready time and taking it slow and easy and enjoying the morning and just as the sunrise is coming up and, you know, all those different things. I'm not prioritizing that. And so I need to find a way. So this is my, you know, looking at what's not going well and saying, okay, well, one, I'm letting my hecticness and busyness not get me the availability to do movement. So my exercise has not been as successful, which is probably why I'm plateaued and not shifting. Well, it is in a huge way, why I'm not shifting down between my rest and my lack of movement, because my stress management has been better. I mean, I've been very stressed some days and had to deal with a lot of crap, but I've been able to handle it. So this is definitely mostly sleep. Even though sleep's improving, it's not the greatest, but movement is not doing well right now. Even when I move, it's not the intentional exercise that I really need to be doing to push past this next barrier. And so it's been good to look at those things and say, okay, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna hit this? Because my goal is to be where I wanna be in 6 days, and I'm not gonna push it unhealthily. But if I'm not doing the things that I know I need to do, and if I'm doing things that I shouldn't be doing, it's going to affect that massively, and I'm not going to be as successful as I want to be. I also realized that I need to take more time for myself to check in and see how I'm doing, because there have been days where everything's been so rapidly busy that I'm not taking the time to actually reflect and to share what's going on and things, or at least not in good times, because I'm either so exhausted or I'm so, you know, busy literally by the end of the day, these kinds of things. So I'm seeing some of these trends, and now I know what they are and I need to fix them. And so that's kind of what I'm looking at, what I'm going to be focusing on. And ultimately it's prioritizing my health so that I can help and be a blessing to others. And if I'm not taking care of my own health, I can't do that. So yesterday it was nice because I did literally take some break to just, I did work at school. I did come home early. And I did a lot of work at the house because I'm doing a lot of organizing and sorting and everything. And then we had a lot of Halloween stuff because we had trick-or-treaters coming around the neighborhood. And I did some fun decorations. And for me, my big stress management thing yesterday and my fun thing, well, one, it was just nice to hang out with my parents. My dad was nice and went and got his takeout. And we got some fun little, like, you know, decent, somewhat healthy dessert. And then we handed out candy. But what my thing was, I was so excited about, I just had fun making this display, and where I hadn't really been able to decorate, I was determined that no matter what, I was at least getting decorations up for one night, and we're actually leaving them up a little bit right now because there's still other people who have theirs up too. So I'll leave the Halloween decorations up a little bit longer. But what was fun for me was just getting a chance to do some of the things I love, and it was actually a stress management thing. It was an enjoyment thing because I love getting creative, and I had found all these, somehow we had this like section of things that was a little bit outdated. So we had some Easter egg dye that technically is okay, but I didn't want to use it in the spring because it would have been too old by then. So what I ended up doing was using some of the dye tabs from the egg dye, and I used some old glitter from that same kit. I used some new glitter, but that I didn't really want to keep. It was cheap that I got somewhere on sale for a school thing that I used some for, and then I had a bunch left over. I used some old paint that I didn't really want to keep around. I have new paint elsewhere, so I figured, okay, I'm gonna use some of it. It's still good, it was still good, but I wanted to use it. I used some old like bath salts that I had that somebody gave me, and I'd used most of them, but there was a bunch that were, well, not a bunch, but a decent amount that I just didn't want to bother with using in case they would irritate me after this time. But what I did is I was able to take out all these little empty baby food jars that I had saved from when I had my nephew and everything over here. I saved the jars and stuff for more craft-like things. And I had some other types of jars that I wasn't going to reuse for food and stuff like that. And I had some older herbs that they're not bad, but they weren't strong, and they weren't strong flavored, so I thought it'd be fun. So literally I created like an alchemical table, just this like fun sort of themed table. And so what I did is, so again, this is my stress management, and I would encourage you to find similar things. I love creativity and putting it into genuine artwork and writing. So what I did, I took these little baby food jars, and I put like distilled water and paint, these little metallic paints so that look like little ingredients and like little, chemical combinations, potion things. And I had these little but the bath salts with like sparkles, and I did one with like some of the egg dye tabs. And then I had my diffuser, my black diffuser. It has a black base and then has this little lid to it. And so I left the light on, and then I had it actually diffusing, so it looked almost like a little cauldron or a little chemical thing on the table. And then I had these old bottles with like these, they weren't really bath salts, but they were just these old little things, crafty things. So I put them out as if they were like, different combinations of stuff. I had some old herbs again that I put also in some baby food jars. I put out some of the just little glitter bottles, the empty ones, because you could see the residue, so it looked like these cute little glittery things, and you could like swirl them and see them. And then I did, and I had these little phosphorescent glow-in-the-dark little chunks that I've used before, and so they're starting to fade, but they were okay, so I put them in this little test tube jar I have that I've used in the past. And then I got out my Edgar Allan Poe, so I like to collect the Barnes & Noble collectible editions, so I can put them on my shelf and have where people can read them, but they also look really pretty, and then I don't have to have all the separate volumes. Like, for example, I have a Jane Austen collection, and so it's like 7 Jane Austen novels in one thing, and then I have like one that's, I have a variety. I have like fairy tales, and I have like Star Trek, and I have like Star Wars, and then I have so I had an Edgar Allan Poe collection that looks it's this really neat, beautiful black and red and like kind of macabre raven decorated collectible edition. And then so I put that out, and I had a Grey's Anatomy copy that I put out, so it had that sort of feel of like these little old books, and they look so beautiful. And then I had and then I love scrapbooking, journaling. So I have like what's kind of like a commonplace notebook, and so it's one of my big leather journals, and I've had this thing for years, but it's so important to me that I only do, I wait for inspiration and do specific, I have separate journals and separate books that I do on a regular basis. This one is like my big sort of keepsake commonplace book where I just put things in, and sometimes I'll write random notes, sometimes I'll do daily entries, sometimes I'll do big spreads with like washi tape and stickers and the calligraphy and the art and the, the paint stuff. And sometimes I'll do watercolors, and I'll do colors on it, and I'll do different things. And so what I did this time was I made a spread to make it kind of look more Halloweenish, more alchemical. But what's funny about it, so I've been wanting to do a Slytherin spread because so my nieces love Harry Potter, and I actually knew what my house was back from college because we all went and did that together. I am a Slytherin house. It's funny because 9 times out of 10, pretty much, I will test as Slytherin, and then like 1 out of 10, I'm a Ravenclaw. My sister's like 9 times out of 10 Ravenclaw, and 1 out of 10 times like a Slytherin. So we're like the opposites. But I am a Slytherin, just like my niece Tori. And then, but we've all done the test in our family. It's really funny what everybody is. So I am a Slytherin. So I've been wanting to do this page with some of the stickers and things I did. Maybe I'll put a picture up here of it. But what I did is I have these paint pens. So I did some calligraphy. I made this like stylistic silver Slytherin, and then I drew a snake as like the underlining thing on it. And I made some mistakes. It looked like the fangs ended up looking weird. So I turned it into like these like shadow fog coming out of its mouth. And then I outlined it and then in black so that it wouldn't look weird. And then I had some of my really favorite stickers that I got off of Amazon, the Slytherin stickers. So I put a couple, actually I was only gonna put one. And then I was trying to, and then I drew a cauldron, and I had this really like neon green pin, and I drew this, it turned out great. And then I had these little stickers of like different herbs and some different like materials that I put on there. Well, I was trying to draw a table. So I was trying to draw a table where it would have like different ingredients and like little books and stuff, and it totally messed up. So I ended up turning it into what I was hoping would be a cauldron. Well, first I put a sticker on it, and then the sticker looked lonely. So then I drew a thing around it, and it looked like a cauldron, but then it was weird. So then I ended up turning it into a planter, and then had green vines because the corner looked so empty. So I ended up drawing these green vines going out with thorns on it. And then I ended up doing this like first I did the little silver fumes from the cauldron with some green mixed in, and then the corner at the top looks so empty. I tried to do this moon thing and it did not work. So I ended up turning it into like a fog with like shadows coming out kind of towards the rest of the Slytherin page. And so it's a little bit busy, but I thought it turned out really good. And it was how I fix my mistakes. And it just, sometimes I'll just start drawing and then I'll have inspiration and I'll decorate around it. On the other side, this is actually, okay, so on the other side, I wanted to have a recipe, an herbal recipe, and I love herbal remedies and recipes, and my family makes them, it has in the past, and I make them all the time. And this is actually a recipe I've used before. This is a credit to Rosemary Gladstar, not me. I love her book. My book is so like dog-eared and crinkled and everything, but I have adjusted what I put in over the years because I haven't always had the ingredients. Or I've had different ingredients. I love using essential oils in it too. So what I did is, what I love though is the name, because it's called Hair Raising Cider. And I thought that was perfect for Halloween because it's actually a recipe I use and I want to record. And I haven't recorded elsewhere, but then I thought it was so appropriate for Halloween and like this alchemical idea, this laboratory idea, potions lab. And I made the notes of even what my adjustments are. And then I just found my little stickers that have like little herbs around it and this little bird. And I drew some like, kind of like just a little bit of the calligraphy. This is actually, I write in cursive. So, aside from when I'm doing teaching, I write in cursive and I write fast in cursive. So I did that and I wrote some little notes on it, and it just made it kind of look like this little page out of a commonplace or like a recipe book that you'd find. And I actually keep these things around. I love my little spreads. I intend to do more in the future. I'm going to get another leather journal upcoming here around Christmas, hopefully. And so I love doing that and having these books. This is my big one right now. I've had this for years and I've just added things as I go. I love doing this. And so, but anyways, I had this spread, so then I put the book up so that you could see it from the window. So that when people came by, it just looked like this cool little alchemical potions lab space. And so that was just fun. And my mom had this little table by the door where she had these little squishy brains and like some more phosphorescent stuff and this kind of like more sci-fi looking thing in the corner where the candy was. And then out front we had the pumpkins, and I didn't get a chance to carve the pumpkins like I'd hoped, so we ended up just putting some hats on them and stuff, and we put some of the glow-in-the-dark phosphorescent things. We had our LED candle, orange candles lining the walkway, and just some different things like that. And so something simple just for the kids to have fun when they came by, and some of our neighbors, and got to see some people and hand some candy out, and it was fun. And we had some food from a local restaurant, and just some delicious Vietnamese food, and just hung out. And we ended up doing some sorting and just having some fun, and it was a good evening. And so in the midst of all this, I'm just trying to find some ways to de-stress and process and just prioritize my health too, even when it's getting hectic and crazy and busy. And it's gonna be a challenge this weekend because I have an even busier week and weekend this coming weeks. especially with drama approaching. And so anyways, that's kind of a quick thing of how my check-in and like the importance of tracking and the importance of prioritizing what's going to be most helpful for your health. So I'm going to leave you there. I'll talk more to you tomorrow. Have a great night. Bye.